Jaya Gopi Ganava Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Prabhupada. Shri Prabhupada ki jai, Shri Shri Radha Radhanath ki jai. Yeah. Om Jnanatimanandasya Jnanandana Salakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swavarantikam. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Time is a relative element in this material world. The Bengali poet Vidyapati once said, Kota Chaturanana Mara Mara Jivati. How many four-headed Lord Brahmas have taken their birth and have now passed on? Now if we compare our lives to the life of Lord Brahma, then our lives are very short. Very short. There are, in one day of Brahma, only in one day, Sahasra Yuga Pariyantam, there are 1,000 yugas, cycles of 4 yugas in one day. That means just in one day 1,000 Kali yugas go past. So how long is the duration of life of Lord Brahma, who lives 100 years of that lifespan? And here we are with our short lives. But then, suddenly, although the demigods look upon human beings as creatures that live so short, it is said in comparison to the demigods, one day of the demigods is 6 months of our time. So the demigods, they can actually see from above, they can see the human existence, and they just shake their heads. Like, those creatures, those creatures, it's hardly worth it. It is so short. And in that little amount of time, they have to experience all emotions and all different varieties of taste that life offers. How's it possible? You have these insects that live for a day. And everything happens in a day. They take birth in the day, they mature in the day, they have offspring in the day. They are, by the time night comes, they are old. And then it's over. That was a life. A life in a day. So here we are. So 2 long years since I last set foot on the ground here in Durban. It was locked down at the time. I was walking around the moat. At least we had that. That was not bad. Yes. And we had the mercy of Sri Radharanath. We had the association of devotees, Bhakti Chaitanya Maharaj, and Ram Govinda Maharaj also. So, can't complain, although I can, because I always find something to complain about. I'm good at that. Wherever I am, there's always something to complain about. Of course, I try to approach that through the Bhagavad Gita, so whatever I notice, here you go again, complain, then I'm thinking, no, you have to be transcendental. Nakanksati nasuchati. No hankering, no lamenting. Yes, Krishna. So Krishna in his kindness has made many arrangements for us. He has arranged to speak the Bhagavad Gita so that we could understand the meaning of life, so that we could place everything in perspective. Just like Arjuna, we were bewildered by the 3 modes of material nature. Tribir gunamir bhave. We did not know who we were or what destiny was. But najayate mriyate vakadachin, we learned we're not taking birth, we don't die, we are eternal. That we understood. And that knowledge of knowing ourselves to be eternal is very valuable. That is the first important lesson, very important lesson that Arjuna is learning, is eternity. Then Arjuna is instructed by Krishna about different processes of yoga. And in the course of that, he learns that yoginam api sarvisam matkati nantaratmana sadavan bhajati yomam samayuktatamo mataha. That the one who worships me as the Supreme Lord with great faith, yes, he's the greatest yogi of all. And so we understand that Krishna is the objective, the goal of our life. Bhavanam jamanamante, after many births. And then manmana bhava bhakto mam jai mam namaskaru. Then we bow down to Krishna and serve him. So we learn tesam satati yuktanam bhajatam pitipurvakam, to always worship him, to chant his holy name. And in this way our spiritual life begins. And that is extraordinary mercy. Whoever somehow or other gets this far is getting great, great mercy. It's very rare in this world, very rare in this world, to get this knowledge of the Bhagavad Gita and to actually start living, following, based on this knowledge. To understand, yes, we are eternal spirit soul. Yes, we are eternal servant of Krishna. Yes, we worship him by chanting Hare Krishna. That is the topmost service. Those who know that, where do you find them in the world? Rare. Rare to find. But then, there is more. There is so much more. 500 years ago, when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared, just at the time of the solar eclipse, when the chanting of the holy name was being heard everywhere, because people, just because of ritual, because, in India ritual is deeply established. And so, because of simply a ritualistic duty, at the time of an eclipse you're supposed to recite the name of the Lord. So they went to the river Ganga, stood in the water and chanted. At that time, the child appeared. Nimai. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared in this world, and initially there were symptoms of his divinity. The child had the same footprints as Krishna. He had a thunderbolt, he had a barley corn, he had the stick that controls the elephant. They have like a stick with a point and a hook, and they know exactly where to point. Touch the elephant and the elephants become controlled. It's an old art, controlling elephants. It's that the mind is like an elephant, but by the lotus feet of Krishna, that mind can be controlled. It looks that spiritual life is certainly worth it. But even when we are convinced, we still have one problem. Our karma gets in the way. The karma brings the reactions from the past that take shape in our life. Destiny. And destiny is always creating stumbling blocks. No, it's too much, really. When you had everything worked out nicely, then some disaster. Karma. It's too much. I don't know about your karma. My karma is insurmountable. It's bigger than the Himalayas. Higher than Mount Everest is my mountain of karma. I don't think. I try to be a devotee, but it's hard. Destiny is just too much. Too much. Or, worse, not enough. Yeah. What to do? So, the karma is insurmountable, but the thunderbolt at Krishna's lotus feet is known to smash mountains. So in other words, all material limitations are overcome by Krishna. The barley corn is there when you worry, yes, but if I chant Hare Krishna, how will I ever make advancement in life? And who's going to pay the bills and how we're going to live? Barley corn. Krishna says, see, I supply your maintenance. Okay. So all the marks of the Supreme Lord were found on the lotus feet of the child. Still, the parents didn't think any of that. They sort of didn't register it, although for everyone it's obvious. But how they could not register it? some arrangement. Somehow or other they missed it. Although miracles happened in the house because they heard that a child was running in the house. They heard ankle bells and they heard the stomping feet of a child quickly running. But there was no child, except the baby. But babies don't run usually. But they saw the footprints on the ground with the same footprints that were also found on the lotus feet of the child. So miracles were there. And miracles have followed Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu throughout. So that we can understand that we're not dealing with an ordinary person. Right? It is clear. The divinity of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is clear by those miraculous activities. Think of Jarikanda forest. There he was, tiger on the road. Touch the tiger with the lotus foot. Chant. Tiger starts chanting. My voice is a little weak, so I can't do a tiger voice for you today. But on some other occasion I will. The tiger was chanting. Then the deer also chanting. Next day he took his bath in some river, and there were elephants bathing, and they also started chanting. So the miracles that we see in the life of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu are undoubtedly showing him to be more than just a devotee of the Lord, and support his divine identity. But the greatest miracles that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu showed was the miracle of love of God. Where in the world do we find people who actually love the Supreme Lord? Yes, okay, some love to come to the temple, very nice. Love to put something on the altar, very nice. But that's good. That's the beginning of love. But full blossoming love for the Supreme Lord, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu showed what it was. He showed what it was, what love really meant. We never understood it. How it was just an all-overwhelming experience. How he would give all his energy in service to the Supreme Lord. So, that is the greatest miracle. For example, it is described that there was Snan Yatra near outside of the Jagannath temple is the Narendra Sarovar. There they put a Snan Bedi, a bathing table, and the deities of Lord Jagannath and Baladev and Subhadra are placed there. At that time, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was there dancing in front of the deities. And the water was bouncing off the deities and drops were glistening in the sky. But the amount of water that bounced off the body of the deity of the Lord was nothing compared to the amount of water that was shooting from the eyes of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. How could so much water come from anyone's body? Where did it all come from? How could anyone? And his crying was not streaming down, it was shooting. It said like from a syringe in all directions. Sometimes his hairs just stood on end. I mean, not a little bit, but really like, it said like Kadamba flowers, yes, which are, you can see down in the garden if you want to know. Yellow bowls with like pins on it, but also yellow. Yes, so Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was just, his relationship with Krishna was something inconceivable. When he saw any hill, it was Govardhan, and he just ran for it. Water, Yamuna, nothing else. Right? Such an absorption. That is devotional service. That is bhakti. It is about absorption. It is not about regulation. Regulation is the beginning stage of devotional service where actually we don't have much bhakti, but we're trying to cultivate it. So, regulation is very important in the stage of cultivation, where we have to rise early in the morning and chant our rounds in the same way, and so on. And we are all in that stage. So for us to imagine the love of God that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu displayed, it's just way over our head, and we just, all that we can say, it's extraordinary. It is just beyond what we can even imagine. We hear about it, and when you hear, you imagine something. You know, we are trying to visualize it, but we can't really approach it. It's just way over our head. That is the nature of the love of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Being absorbed in the mood of a devotee, the Supreme Personality of Godhead is tasting now himself pure love of God. That is part one. Part two is that from that platform of love, he is particularly in a very compassionate mood. Now that he has taken that mood that Srimati Radharani also has in loving Krishna, now that he has the same depth of love she has, he becomes very compassionate for the conditioned souls. He knows that within us, within each of us, there is a potential to also blossom in pure love. But in the age of Kali, we have become reduced. In the age of Kali, we have become amused by all kinds of nonsense. And all these things have made our consciousness very small in the age of Kali. We have shrunken. We have become dwarfs. We have become small-minded. Our hearts have become very small. We are only concerned with our own desires. Yes, my desires. Yes. Oh, my desires. I want them so bad. Yes. You have an interesting mask. It's on. Okay. Leave it alone. Shall I act it out? Don't touch it. Don't touch. So Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu then turns to the conditioned souls who are in a petty state of consciousness, who make huge things about little things, just elephants out of mosquitoes. And for Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu turns to these living beings and is somehow or other trying to awaken a desire within us that we didn't have. We never had. Yeah, spirituality. Okay, we don't mind some blessings. No. Bless me that it rains money. Yay! Yeah, we want, yes. Bless me with some beauty, please. Bless me that I pass all the degrees. Yay! Bless me with... what kind of car did you talk about today? Was it a Lamborghini? Bless me with one of those. And while you're at it, give me a few other cars as well. Bless, my Lord, please bless me. Bless me. Daily bread, come on, give a little more. So, yes, we look for blessings. Blessings we desire for our life. But whoever understood spiritual life, okay, I'm from a generation which, from after the Second World War, and in that generation the Beatles appeared, and they became like the prophets of the generation and sang the song, "Money Can't Buy You Love." Now that made complete sense to me. I mean, when I heard that song, I said, they're right. They're right. You know, hallelujah. I tell you folks, after that song, I was a believer. Money can't buy you love, but of course, it can buy you other things, so I still did want a little bit of it. Wasn't that? But it became quite a fashion. I remember that there were young people who started to travel to India, and I met one in Afghanistan, a German boy, who said, "I'm living without money." He said, "So do you have any money?" I said, "I have some." He said, "Then you have to buy my ticket." He was German, and the Dutch and the Germans anyway have a long history. So I kind of let him know. I said, "I've got the money and you don't." It seemed artificial. But this lifestyle of, where we said materialism, no. Just material progress, that is too shallow. Not that we want to starve, that we don't want to, we want our needs met. But how far do we want to extend our needs? How much do you need? I asked my father, who wanted a bigger house, but the funny thing was he wanted it exactly when the children were leaving home. So it was a little awkward, because then there was a bedroom, a study room, a dressing room, and the dog had a room also. Yeah. Why? I asked him why. No. I did not believe in it. So I went a different direction. And with all due respect to all the good things I learned from my father. But I chose for something more simple. I said, because I realized that when we live simple and meet our material needs in a more simple way, then you don't need to spend so much time and energy to maintain it all. That's the advantage of being a little simple but renounced, is when you can manage with simple things, well, it saves a lot of time, a lot of headache, and if you're not so simple, it has a price. Everything has a price. And the price you pay with your time and energy. That may translate into money, but it's basically you sell a piece of your life for that. Some of your time. See? So I thought, well, simple has its benefits. So these are all things that I kind of realized before meeting this knowledge of Srila Prabhupada. Right? Before I encountered the teachings of Srila Prabhupada in my life, all these things were getting clear. Simple is good. Not too simple. But yeah, that's nice, but that's only like preparing the ground, preparing the field. You can prepare the field, but that's not good enough. You still have to plant something positive. So just to give up entanglement I said, okay, I keep life simple so I don't get so entangled. Very nice. And I teach myself to be satisfied with less. I did. But that was not enough, because we still need the positive experience. All right, I tried to create something. I sang and I wrote songs and I got something out of that. But I also felt that, first I was singing to bring some positive energy into my own life. My life was not just beautiful, like most people. I don't have a perfect life. There was tension, there were problems at home, and there were sometimes too many. But I had my music and survived, because I knew how through singing my songs, I would bring in positive, nourishing energy. So, not only living simple, but also positive, nourishing energy. But then I thought, this is not enough. I'm just doing this for myself. This will not be enough. Something more is needed. I thought, no, I have to do something positive for others. If it's only for myself, then I'll dry up. I must do something for the world to benefit people around me. So I began to sing on stage for others, to uplift the world. But when you're a musician, it's not so easy, You make a beautiful recording, you put your heart in it, and you know where they play it? In the public bathroom of an airport or something. Yeah. And you put everything in there, and that's where they play it. Yeah. It's true. I'm not making it up. Things like that. I realized that it wasn't enough. I wasn't getting through. And I also realized that I myself was at my limits, my walls. I realized I lack in purity. When I realized I'm lacking in purity, I'm lacking in power, I want to help others, but I'm not so great myself. I realized that. So what do I do now? That's the point where I opened up to the idea of a guru. Otherwise, I'd seen too many. I was in India, some Baba was sitting there, and the Baba was looking, and he asked me, where are you from? What is your name? What is your country? Can you give some bakshis, some donation? Yes. It was all so cheap. Then I gave one a donation. Then he took me to some of his other sadhus, and they were all smoking certain substances in chilms. And I was thinking, we have that also in Amsterdam. So that didn't impress me. No, what can I say? I was trying to get out of all that madness of the 60s, you know what I'm saying? In my school days in the Netherlands, you could not walk into any room with young people or they were smoking something. Everywhere. Incense burning, not to do puja, but to cover up the smell. Yes. Yeah. That was normal. Everybody did that. What to do? I was like, okay. Didn't make sense to me. Not anymore. Of course, when I was young, I wanted to know what it was, but then I knew. Yeah, so eventually I came to a spiritual master. Now you might be a little shocked when I tell you about the smoke. But this is exactly important that I tell you about the smoke, because Otherwise, what is the miracle of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? If I would tell you I was born in a family and we all had wings. Yes. We would fly around the room and have a halo above our head, and we'd all be reciting prayers from morning to night. And at night we were dreaming about God. And of course, the musical instrument that I spoke about was a harp. I mean, and say, yeah, no wonder that he's sitting there now all orange, all with flower garlands. No. It's a miracle that I'm sitting here. It is. It's a miracle that that all of us are sitting here. It's a miracle. I mean, look at Checkers over there, I mean, when I first time in 95 I came to South Africa, the thing I noticed in Checkers was that the lady at Checkers had a cloth to clean the conveyor belt from the juices that came from the red things that people eat. Yes? Serious. I noticed it. See, all the time she's cleaning the conveyor belt. Yeah, I was buying some things and thinking she's going to put it on the conveyor belt. Held it up like this. I got yeah. No. It's not all so pure. Huh? Mirror, mirror on the wall, who is the purest of all? Yeah. None of us. Somehow or other, the age of Kali has affected us. So Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mercy is that he awoke in us something. Even if we knew about spiritual life, how strong was our desire? How strong was our desire? We hear about Srila Prabhupada. We hear that Srila Prabhupada went on Rath Yatra. We hear that he was in London and that Srila Prabhupada was ill before Rath Yatra. And then he came to Rath Yatra and we hear that he danced. And he was very old and he ran up and down before the chariot and danced and danced and danced. How is it possible? How can someone on that age dance and dance and dance? It's by desire. It's by desire that it becomes possible. And then Krishna empowers. But it's the desire. See? How can one chant 64 rounds? By desire. We read how Uddhava was sent to Vrindavan as a messenger. And Jiva Goswami says, how did Uddhava go to Vrindavan? Did he go by a chariot? Or did he go by his desire? By desire. It's all about desire. But we don't have that desire. Who has the desire to chant 64 rounds? Okay, once a year? Maybe. Twice a year? Every day? And what is that desire pure or is it mixed with a desire? I mean, I saw someone who had a bead bag and he was chanting 64 rounds. Where's mine, by the way? I don't know. There. Yeah. And on the bead bag, I lost my counting beads, by the way. If someone has some, I need some. But no. And then the day after tomorrow, I donate the extra ones to the temple. Anyway, he had counting beads. He had 64 counting beads on his bead bag. This long. Yeah. So, who was he chanting 64 rounds for if you have 64 counting beads? They're made to chant 64 because there's 20 on the beads. 4 on one side, 16 on the other, and you chant 16, pull 1 down on the side of 4, and that's how you tie it on. 4 on one side, 16 on the other. So, but chanting 64 rounds is done by desire. I experienced that when we went to Bangladesh. it was an amazing experience in Bangladesh, because Bangladesh is full of devotees, and these devotees, they are so eager, they're very intense. Anyway, we came to the place of Haridas Thakur, and the thing was that I had before been thinking, yes, in this place, Benapol, where Haridas was chanting for so long, there I will also sit down and chant many rounds. And I was getting into the mood. Now I'm going to chant. I'm just sort of working myself up to, I'm going to sit and chant japa, serious. And then we came there, and there was a deity of Haridas, but that was not all. There was also a deity of Laksahira, the prostitute that came to seduce Haridas. So I was a bit shocked. I expected Haridas. I didn't expect to see a deity of the prostitute. But then, of course, Haridas transformed that prostitute, and she became a devotee. But not just a devotee, she also chanted 300,000 names, 192 rounds a day after that. Now, so what happened to me, instead of thinking so much about chanting, I realized that, well, let me tell the story in a bit more detail. The prostitute came to seduce Haridas. She was hired to do that. And the person who had hired her, he said that, yes, you seduce him, have union with him, and then I'll send my constables, and they'll arrest him, and we expose him as a hoax. Yes. But she said, no. Don't send your constables. First, let me have union with him. You can send your constables for the second night. So you can see she had more than professional interest. There was also lust involved. So here was Laksahira, the emblem of lust. And that lust has been transformed by Haridas Thakur in a matter of 3 days by his potency of chanting and so on. That brought her to the point that now she could chant 192 rounds a day. That means you cannot chant 192 rounds, not even once. Try it. Because we don't have the desire. It's like somewhere at 131 we think, oh, I can't do any more than this. Come on, you do more. Okay. 133, help. Call an ambulance. Please. 192 rounds. And even if we chant 192 in one day, we'll be in the hospital for a week. It's just like, it's virtually impossible. Virtually impossible. So, we can see that Haridas awakened the desire in her. He created in her a desire for Krishna, an eagerness. He awakened in her a desire, a desire for Krishna. That great sense. And this is what is happening to us. Gradually, Nitya Siddha Krishna Prem Sadhya Kabunai Shavanadi Sudha Chitta Karya Udai. By this hearing and chanting, our desires change. First of all, Prabhupada says in the introduction to the Chaitanya Charitamrita, he says this process of devotional service is like taking off in a plane. And as you're going up in the plane, all the things on the ground start to look small. So all the things of this world start to look small and insignificant, and we rise up to a platform. All the other desires begin to look petty. And we just desire Krishna. That is what this movement is about. This is what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to give us, to awaken this desire. We want to chant, yes. Chant more and chant more. 1 hour. 1 hour of kirtan, you just begin. That's only when you warm up. That's when sort of After an hour, begin to focus. Maybe after an hour we come to the point where the mantra begins to carry us instead of just trying to consciously chant. To really just chant and let it flow instead of just pushing the mantra in different melodies and so on. That's art. But real chanting is where the mantra just carries us, where we realize Krishna is so kind, and where we then offer something back. And we try to chant for the pleasure of Krishna. So it's about desire, this desire awakening. And so Chaitanya Mahaprabhu awakens in us a desire for spiritual life. Here you are. It's your day off. Sitting in a temple. You could do so many things. Listening to a long lecture. He's only warming up. Gosh, how long can we sit? How long can we listen? Your ears get red hot. But yes, it all depends on a desire. So this hearing gradually awakens into us a desire to hear about Krishna. A desire to serve Krishna. A desire to just deal with Krishna, because everything without Krishna looks so meaningless. The beach, sitting on the sand, enjoying well, you enjoy it, but you also get sand in everything. Okay. I remember, you're on the beach, and at night you even have sand in your bed. It's like you brought the beach home. Yeah. You love the beach so much. It's all relative. I do like my beach walks. They give me good energy. So, yes, these things are gifts of the Supreme Lord. But I don't really want to take another birth in Umslang or something like that, or on Hawaii, or, some other beach place in the world. Forget it, I'm sure there's something in the spiritual world which is better than the beaches of the material world. And the banks of the Yamuna Tira, Vanachari, there are the footprints of Krishna. There Krishna plays his flute. There, oh yes, there are so many pastimes. Let's go there, on those beaches, made of beautiful silver sand. Yes. Yes. So, that's what is the difference, our desire. And that is what Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to do. That is his compassion. He changes our desires in some way or other by making his mercy available. And in the beginning, we don't know what's happening here. It's like we see devotees and think they're strange, but something is also, it's powerful. It's powerful. When a Harinam party comes past, it's very difficult to be indifferent, to be totally oblivious. There's only two places in the world where I've seen indifference. One was in Agra, which is a Muslim place. We were doing a Harinam in Agra. There was no reaction, zero. And they were really going for it, and there was nothing. But it was artificial. We knew that they feel it, but they're not going to show it. And the other place was New York, where people walk around and sort of like, seen it all, know it all, done it all. What are you going to tell me? I'm from New York, But then there are many New Yorkers who are so happy to see us. It's good, really nice. What a relief. Something spiritual. Yeah. So, dear devotees, we are here together. And each of us has received some mercy. And each of us has been given some gifts. Some can sing, some can dance, some can cook, some can dress the deities. Like, you can ask me for the kirtan, I'm willing to give it a shot, right? But if you ask me to dress the deities, I'm terrible. I can't get it right. To get the hair, it's too much in the front, too much in the back, too much one side, it's painful. And so on and so on. Oh, I'm the worst pujari in the world, Swarup. I'm confessing today. Our Swarup Damodar is a pujari by heart. I'm the worst, Swarup. Don't ever ask me to do anything on the altar. Just ask me to lead the kirtan. It's good enough. Because I'm hopeless. The only times I ever went on the altar was when there's an absolute emergency, when there's temple president. The pujaris were ill, no one wanted to go on the altar. Then I would step on. Oh God, what a desire. What a disaster. But, so I worship Giriraj. You don't have to dress him. That's a lot easier. That's about as much. You get a chance to express your devotion, but I don't have to try and get the clothes right. It's just too difficult for me. So we all have our gifts. Everyone can do something. And let us all utilize what Krishna gave us and bring it to the assembly of the Vaishnavas. Let us all contribute something. And in this way, make it a festival. We just did that in Johannesburg. It was Rath Yatra. It put Durban to shame. Sorry, that was right on the nose. I'm sorry about that. But those who were there, they will say it was really something else. It's not the credit of Joburg. It was just about, there was such a desire. There was such a desire. Everyone had such a desire for Rath Yatra like we never had it. I know, as soon as you said Rath Yatra, Durban wakes up. Yeah, let's do it. We have a desire for Rath Yatra. But that desire that was there now, it was really strong. It was really strong. Of course, many devotees came from Durban, also for Rath Yatra, because they couldn't resist it. I heard all these devotees, they drove in the night, and you're not supposed to drive in the night, and it's dangerous, and in South Africa, double dangerous. What are you doing? Why you drive in the night? Yeah. It's Rath Yatra after such a long time. So it was a Rath Yatra which was just ecstatic because everyone had such an intense desire for a Rath Yatra. And that was what made it an extraordinary event. And then, then in the evening we did 3 hours more kirtan. And it was everything. It was wild at one point. It was a bit fiery. But what you want, it's like something like kids, when you keep the kids in school and then there's the break and you let them out on the playground. What's it like, They'll scream, every kid's there. They don't talk to the other kids. They run around screaming, right? Because they were locked up in this school all the time. That's what it was like, We were like kids on the playground. We was screaming the holy name and Jai Jagannath. It was wonderful. Such a desire. So therefore I decided to speak to you, since this is the final celebration day of Gaur Purnim, about desire. And that this is the great miracle that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu performed, that he awakens the desire in the conditioned souls, in people who have no real qualification. But there's a desire. Now I know after this lecture, someone's going to raise a hand and say, what do you do when you don't have any desire? Yeah, isn't it? That's what's going to come next. I know it. How about some prasadam? I guess Lord Chaitanya gets those of us who are like that, who have no desire for anything spiritual. He gets us through prasadam. Right? And then after that, the other things also come. Then comes kirtan, and then more and more. So it comes, and then then the philosophy comes and begins to satisfy our heart. I actually feel like there's true wisdom here, things that really make sense. Yeah, like this morning, I just turned on a lecture of Srila Prabhupada for just a moment, and Prabhupada said, Krishna, the qualities of God. He says, God has two qualities. He said, one quality is he has no superior, and the other one is he has no equal. He's asamurdva. There is no one like him. Now that makes sense. Like if you think about it, anything less doesn't really sound like God. When you start thinking what God should be, yes. So when Srila Prabhupada describes the qualities of Krishna, it starts to make sense. First he establishes him, what are divine qualities. Then we see that what really it's all about is loving exchange. Some time ago, when I was here in South Africa in this temple in a lockdown 2 years ago, and like every other Swami, I went online, Swami online, I mean, you know about that, right? Swami's online. And I got enthusiastic and I started a daily stream on the Chaitanya Charitamrita. And I did that for quite a long while until COVID finally got me. And then I was a flat tire for a while, and I stopped my daily streams and I went to once a week, I think, and so on. Yeah. Still do that once a week, although I'm a little bit zoomed out. At one point I said, forget it, I'm not going to do this zooming anymore, I'm going to do live, even with a few people. But anyway, so I spoke about Lord Chaitanya, and in the course of that we discussed so many aspects of Lord Chaitanya. I did about 100 lectures or plus, about Lord Chaitanya during that time. And started here downstairs in the temple. And in one of them we were talking about the community of love, right? Then one of my disciples got really fired up about it and wanted to make a book out of that, and we're trying, still in the pipeline. But basically, what it is about is really about Krishna and his devotees. That it is described by Srinivasa Acharya in the in the Sat Goswami Astaka. This Sat Goswami Astaka, which is one of the songs in the Hare Krishna songbook, is not just one of the songs in the Hare Krishna songbook. It is one of the very, very important songs in the Hare Krishna songbook. It's like, it's one of those that one could consider memorizing if you have a bit of memory. Mine is like a sieve, so still didn't memorize it. But if I could, I would. There Srinivas describes the Premamritambo Nidhi and how the 6 Goswamis were always absorbed in that ocean of transcendental love. What is that ocean of transcendental love? It's a poetic description of, well, an ocean is an image of all directions. It's everywhere. It's all around you. Right? That's the ocean. You see nothing but the ocean. So, okay, Premam, an ocean of love. So, love, unrestricted love in all directions. Is that what it means? Yes. But how does it work? It works through relationship. Right? It works through relationship. It's not just some sort of, here is a source, Krishna, and love is flowing. Love is flowing in all directions. It's all pervading. No, it's about relationship. It's about relation. That's where love is. So it's all about relationships. Krishna, who has relationships with his devotees, and the devotees who have relationships with Krishna, and the devotees who then have relationships with the devotees. Because when I just look at my neighbor, right? I mean, we can make this interactive, folks. I mean, just have a look at your neighbor. These things, the interaction with your neighbor. We're going to have a 10-second break and look at your neighbor. You want to say a few words to your neighbor? Go ahead. That's very interactive. Talk to your neighbor for just 10 seconds. Yeah. Okay. I think I'll give him an extra 10, Okay. So it's okay to talk to your neighbor, but then again, after a while, you can't talk to your neighbor all the time. 10 seconds is okay, 20 seconds. How long can you talk to your neighbor? When we were locked down here, same people. Good morning, Swarup, Haribo. Haribo, Maharaj. What's the news? Still the same. That's how I remember the lockdown. Yeah. So, but when we see that our neighbor is a great devotee, that our neighbor is doing everything for Krishna, then that neighbor becomes very attractive. Very attractive. So this is what Krishna consciousness is about. It is about the devotees serving Krishna with love, Krishna being purchased, his heart melting, he bestowing his love upon the devotees, then the devotees seeing each other, seeing how that love is going towards Krishna, and you can see it is an ocean of love. It's love in all directions. Relationships, loving relationships in all directions. That's what this movement is all about. That is the gift that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to give. Loving relationships in all directions. Towards Krishna, towards the devotees, from Krishna towards the devotees. Anyway, Yeah, and by hearing about it, we might even develop a desire to enter into that. So, I'll try and make a little book about that. Maybe if Krishna fulfills my desire, then maybe I'll make a big book about the Chaitanya Charitamrita and like that. But then, then you have to bless me that I become at least 100, otherwise I'll never make it. So thank you very much, dear devotees in Durban, for listening to me for so long. After this talk, we'll have a little kirtan. See how long that goes. As you already heard, the Rath Yatra of Joburg went into my voice. That's what Rath Yatras do. It happened to me in Durban Rath Yatra also. I remember one year they interviewed me on stage and all I could say was beep, like like a mouse. That's how the great singer became a mouse. Yeah. Krishna. Krishna can take it away just like that. Yeah. But I pray that I may be able to somehow or other sing a little bit. To celebrate that we're together again. Yes. Next couple of days I'll put the car in the garage and see my dentist and see my this and my that, because that's all in Durban. And then I'll come back out for some more programs with all of you. Looking forward to that. So the talk was already too long, so I can't handle questions. Especially that one about what do you do when you have no desire? So let's just have some really a few minutes to talk to the neighbor. And then we set up the harmonium down there, and I think it's nicer to have the kirtan for the deities than sitting up here. And so we'll chant for the pleasure of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Thank you so much. Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ki jai. Shri Radharanath ki jai. Where is that water here?